In this lesson, we're going to see how to create and use classes in Java. Now you can see on my screen, I've created a very simple class called Zombie. Now this is a public class and its name is Zombie. This class has one integer type variable called strength, and it has two methods. The one method is called walk, and the only thing this method does is the system outprint lines the words zombie walking, and similarly the talk method simply outputs brains. Alright, so now this is a class. Now what is a class and how does a class compare to an object? Now you can imagine a class as being a template for an object. A class is a sort of a factory for an object. So you create the class. As the developer, you will create a class, and that class will determine all of the characteristics of the objects that you're going to create, and then you use that class to instantiate multiple objects. It's like a rubber stamp. You first get the rubber stamp mechanism made, and then you use the rubber stamp mechanism to create impressions on the pages that you are going to put the stamps on. So each impression is like an object, but the rubber stamp mechanism itself is the class. Now you'll also notice that this class doesn't have a main method. Now not all classes have main methods. As I mentioned previously, the main method is the one entry point for your application. There only needs to be one main method in your application. So we're going to take this main method and we're going to put it into another class called Zombie Game. So public class Zombie Game. Now this is going to be the actual controller class that controls the entire game. This one has the main method, and in line 3, this is where the magic is happening in this class. We are creating a new zombie in line 3. Now what does this line mean? Let's look at it step by step. This first part, zombie, is declaring a new variable type called zombie. Alright, and this is similar to as if you would declare a new type string, for example. So if you're creating a new string, you'd say string username is equal to whatever. So in the same way, we're creating a new variable called z1, and its type we are declaring as zombie, and the word zombie comes from there, the name of the zombie class. So the z1 will be of type zombie class. It'll be a subtype, or it'll be an instance of the class zombie. Alright, now we've created our variable. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to assign it a value. What value are we going to assign to this variable? We're going to assign to it a new instance of the zombie class. Now the new keyword creates an instance of a class, and this part here, zombie, is actually creating that instance. Now you will notice that there are round brackets after the name of the class. Why are we having why are we displaying round brackets after the class name? Don't we only use round brackets when there is a method call? Now in actual fact, there is a method call here. There's a hidden an implicit method call. We are calling the constructor of the zombie class. I'll explain to you in a future lesson what exactly is a constructor. So we're calling the constructor of the zombie class. You can say the constructor is the method that actually builds up the object. So we create an object and we store it into z1. Now after line 3, we're going to have an instance of the zombie class called z1, and now we can use the z1 object. How do we use it? We use the dot notation. We call the name of the object dot any method that is public in the object we can call here. So z1 dot walk. So we're actually calling the walk method of the z1 object, and below that we're calling the talk method of the z1 object. Now let's save these files, but before I save them, I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to store these two files into the same folder, for the simple reason that these two files now form part of the same application. Alright, so I'm going to use my this little icon here, click on it to create a new folder. So I'm going to call this folder Zombie Game. Alright, and then I'm going to go into that folder and I'm going to save these two classes. There we go. Right, so the first one I'm going to save as zombie.java. which is perfect, and the second one obviously is going to be named zombie-game.java. Alright, so now I've created both classes. The question is, which one do I compile, because I want to run my code. Now you can compile both. You can compile them in order by compiling first the zombie.java class and then the zombie-game.java class. But there's one thing that Java does for you. If I instantiate just the zombie-game.java, now you can see the zombie-game.java uses the zombie.java class. So what will happen in this case is, if I simply compile the zombie-game.java class, Java will automatically compile the zombie.java class. Let's try it out. So I compile this class. Hopefully I won't have any errors. Alright, that's perfect. So we've compiled. Now let's run this class. And there we have it. Zombie walking and brains. Now that's because we called the walk method and then the talk method. Now we can create any number of instances of this class. Let's create another instance. Alright, so we've created an instance and we are calling its talk method. Compile that and let's run it. Okay, so the first it outputs zombie walking, and then the first brains is Z1 talking and the second brains is Z2 talking. So this is now your introduction to classes and objects in Java. This is how we create and instantiate classes and objects.